What are my 10 favorite comics in my collection? That is the question posed to me by New2Vero2. I'll link to his channel below. Give him a watch for some great G.I. Joe content, along with some other cool stuff from the 80s and beyond that we all love. A couple of his friends recently challenged him to make a video showcasing his 10 favorite books. And in response, he passed that challenge on to me. And here we are. There weren't any hard rules, but I did limit myself to graded books only, so no collected editions or non-graded single issues to be seen here. But enough of that, let's start looking at some books.
Yo, Joe, talking comics. Here's your host. It's a real American Brian.
So we have the Munsters here. The Munsters did not make the list. It was a close call. That was one of the ones that were right on the edge, but got cut off a little bit. There's going to be a lot of G.I. Joe on this list, but it's not all G.I. Joe. And I think there'll be a few surprises to be had, so let's see what we have. In the number 10 spot, I have Codename Helix. This was Helix's first appearance in comics, and this was cover B, I believe. Yes, cover B. I really love this cover. I'm a big fan of the Helix character, and just this cover is just so cool. I really liked it a lot. And I got this one graded by PGX as a 9.4, so not too bad there. I will say, while we're looking through these, there is one book that would definitely have made my list, but it's currently not here. I actually have two different copies of it, and they're both out of my possession right now. EGS is working on one of them, and I should have that in a few weeks, so you'll be seeing that on the channel in the future. And then another copy of the same book, a little bit different, but it's currently at CGC having a mechanical error fixed, and who knows how long that's going to take. But that is number 10, Codename Helix. And at the number 9 spot would be this awesome Hama sketch cover of G.I. Joe issue number 246. This is the first time that Don becomes Snake Eyes. So this is his sketch cover, and he laid out the whole character design and everything on there. I just thought that was super cool. I like it a lot that, you know, not only as a writer, but he was passing on what he expected the character to look like. And she pretty much does look like that. And this being her first time, not first appearance, but first time as Snake Eyes, it makes it extra cool. And that was also graded by PGX, and got the cool 9.8 there. This one is a book that has quite a tale of an adventure. This was sent in for the McFarlane signing by CGC, the in-house signing there. And I ended up sending it back 2 more times, trying to get it all corrected and fixed. And it's finally back and looks beautiful. And I just love it. There's only 2 G.I. Joe books that would be appropriate to have McFarlane's signature on. He did the interiors of this book. Unfortunately, did not do the cover. The cover is a Mike Zett cover, which is awesome. But the signature placement there was right where I wanted it to be. And I got the cool McFarlane scroll label that they were doing exclusively for that signing. So I love this book, and it's a newsstand for a little extra there too. It came back as a 9.4, and it's very justified as a 9.4. That's what I expected it to be, and there it is. So that was, what, number 8? So on to number 7. Back to PGX grading this book for me. This was one of the G.I. Joe Dead Game covers. Wasn't a fan of the G.I. Joe Dead Game, the book, but it produced some of the coolest covers ever. There were so many variant covers, and so many of them were really cool. I love this homage to the Hulk 181, but with the G.I. Joe ninjas there. So I love it. I stare at it all the time, and it came back as a 9.8. It's a beautiful book. Big fan there. And that was number 7, so we're on to number 6, and we got something that's not G.I. Joe related. I'm getting a little wacky now. Planet of the Apes, number 1, CGC 7.0. I love Planet of the Apes. I'm a big Planet of the Apes fan. I love the movies, love the books and the comics. This was recently collected by Marvel, who got the rights, the license back, in an Omni that I talked about on a recent video with my brother. But yeah, I love this. It's the first comic book appearance of the apes. They were in comic form in magazines prior to this, but this was the first comic book. So that makes it super cool. The next book, also not a G.I. Joe, 2 in a row. Getting really crazy here. Daredevil number 43. This book I had on my radar for a long time. It took me a while to track one down that I could afford, or I guess that I was willing to spend. I wasn't really willing to get crazy on it. But I love this cover. It's Jack Kirby doing Daredevil and Captain America, two of my favorite superheroes. And I love Jack Kirby. And he doesn't do a lot of Daredevil. He did some covers, but that's pretty much it. But this cover is super cool with the fight there, the duel between the heroes. It came back as a 4.5, which is fair. And I got the cool custom Daredevil label on it. Yeah. I did have this one cleaned and pressed, and had the brightening treatment done to it just to make it present as well as possible. But even then, there's some small spine splitting and some other issues. The 4.5 is very justified, but it presents very well. I put it on my wall and it looks great, and I love it. So I think we're down to the top 5, right? What do we got here? 1, 2, 3. Are we in the top 4? We are. So number 4, this book is probably not a book that many people even recognize, really. This was the preview copy of, so this was has a preview of the first issue of Codename Helix. This was given out by EA at E3, promoting the Rise of Cobra video game, but had that preview to the comic book in it, which is a very confusing timeline. So Helix appears in the video game, but then they used the movie imagery. Like, nothing really makes sense with it, but it was given away at a video game convention for free. So as soon as someone's given something for free, they assume the value is not there, and not many of them made it out of there in one piece, if at all. A lot of people are probably throwing them away or didn't really care. But so technically, this coming out before Codename Helix, this, depending on how you look at previews, could be her first appearance. But I was able to work with PGX, and they actually noted all that on there, which is very cool. A lot of the other grading companies wouldn't have put that on there, but I was able to have discussions with them and be like, hey, this is the history of this book, what can you note on there for it? And he noted all that it was a preview. It was issued on a month before the actual book came out. So if you wanted to argue, this could be the first appearance of Helix. And it came back as a 9.4, which, again, there's not many of these that survived in good condition because they were, you were collecting freebies from all the different tables you went to. And this was one more thing that someone shoved in your face. And because it was given to you free, you probably didn't think there's much value in it. And really, other than I think it's like a 6-7 page preview and then like a poster, and that's pretty much it. There's like all kinds of like weird blank pages that just have G.I. Joe script. It's a bizarre book, but the one reason to have it is for Helix, and I'm a big Helix fan, so that's pretty cool. And it's something that not many people have because it's just not talked about. This next one is a book that I hunted down for a while, and really had to decide how much I was willing to pay for it. This is G.I. Joe issue number 226. This is the first appearance of Don Moreno as a high school student. But this is the variant cover with the Cobra Commander action figure. So I love this book, and it came back as a 9.8 from PGX, which makes it even cooler. But to have this awesome cover and then a book that has like I don't know, the cool first appearance and has some draw there for other reasons as well. I love the Don Moreno character, having her first appearance, but not just her first appearance, but having a sweet cover too. Multiple reasons to want this book, and it's a beautiful 9.8 version of the book. So now I'm on to my top 2, and my number 2 book is The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 601. The beautiful J. Scott Campbell cover. This is a book that I wanted for a very long time. And again, it was one of those things where I had to debate how much money I was willing to spend on it. So I was able to find a little bit lower grade version of it that was in the realm of money that I was willing to spend on this comic book. But I got it and had it cleaned and pressed and made as pretty as it possibly can be, but it came back as a 9, which again is very justified. There's definitely some flaws in it. And got the cool Spider-Man label. And I love this book. This book probably sits on my desk. I have like one spot on my desk and then some other books displayed above, but the prime spot on my desk, this one probably spends more time there than any other book. But that is my number 2, so if that one spends more time on my desk than any other book, what's up with number 1? Well, I have 2 different versions of the book that would be number 1 on my list. The first one is really the one that has the most story to it. This is G.I. Joe, issue number 21. Everyone knows it, everyone loves it. This is a third printing. This was the first version of the book that I was able to find online again. There's a similar theme throughout that was in the ballpark that I was willing to spend on it. It was, the person that sold it to me was in one of the G.I. Joe Facebook groups. I've done a video on this book. The whole story behind this book makes it even more special to me, beyond being just issue 21. But I bought it from another G.I. Joe collector who was helping me out. He thought it was like a 7.75. And it is pretty beat up. There's some flaws to it. A lot of spine text and things. But this was the first book that I sent out to be cleaned and pressed and taken care of, and sent it to be graded, and got a very generous 9.4. This book is not a 9.4. A 9 would be on the generous side of this book. A 9.4 is ridiculous. This book is not a 9.4. But I will take it. That's the grade I was given. And it looks beautiful on the wall. It is the third printing, but this is the version of the book that I thought I would have for a long time. But I actually got a second copy not too long thereafter. It is a first printing newsstand, but it is a restored label. This was, I actually purchased this from Top Comics Pressing, who does all my pressing and cleaning. And he attempted to remove the restoration and get it sent in to get a grade on it, and didn't remove all of it, missed some of it somewhere, so it came back restored. So that's kind of a bummer, because then you have the pieces that are cut out of the cover where the restoration was attempted to be removed, but now you just have to live with it because that's where we're at. But it's still a beautiful copy. I was able to get this super cheap because it was restored, and so now I have a first print newsstand. It's restored, but it's okay. I got a good deal on it, and I like it a lot. It doesn't have the backstory as much as my third printing, so I think my third printing is probably my favorite of the two, despite the grade just not being accurate. It's something I can live with, and if it's accurate on the good side, that's awesome, right? But thank you, New2Vero2, for passing this challenge on to me. This was a lot of fun looking through my books and trying to pick out 10. It was actually more difficult than I thought. But yeah, if you want to talk about any of these books, feel free to leave some comments down below, and I will chat with you and exchange anything. We'll talk. It'll be fun. Thanks for watching.
So long from Brian. Until next time, same Brian time, same Brian channel.